Hello and welcome back to the True Crime Guys podcast. I'm Lauren.
And I'm Michael.
How's everybody doing? Welcome back. We had a Patreon exclusive episode last week. That's why you didn't hear an episode if you're just on the free platform.
That's right. We missed you guys.
We have some exciting announcements in regards to Patreon. There's never been a better time to sign up than coming up in March, where we're going to get all of our content on one tier, the $5 tier. You're going to get everything. So we'll talk a little bit more about that later on.
Absolutely. And that's going to be March 16th, guys. So look out for that drop date.
Yeah. But as for this week, we have a really fun episode. We tackled a true crime documentary on Netflix, and a lot of interesting topic discussions to be had about this case. There's an amazing singer-songwriter, one of the best of his generation, that was murdered. I guess you could say it went down as a justifiable homicide, but it's definitely got some questions surrounding it, and there's been a lot of people that have speculated that this was a setup, that he was taken out because he was too vocal. He was a black man in the 50s, and his death is a little suspect. So we're going to examine it, look at it, talk about the documentary, and it should be a fun episode.
Absolutely, man. Let's get into it.
Let's do it. All right, for our case this week, we are covering Sam Cooke's death. I mean, I guess you could, as we said, it went down legally as a justifiable homicide, not a murder. There was very little investigation done on the police's part following his murder or death.
Right. Very little.
Yeah. And the documentary that we got was called The Two Killings of Sam Cooke, which has been remastered and put on Netflix. Do you know when it was originally made? I couldn't find that. I just, once Netflix puts their name on it, it's kind of...
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure, actually. And a lot of the people interviewed seemed like they were more recent. So is part of the remastering also getting new interviews with current artists and whatnot?
I don't know. I mean, it could have been made in the 2010 to 2020 range, and still,
that's what I'm about to
those
say.
people
It
would have
can't
still
be.
been older, you know.
It doesn't look that old to me. It doesn't look old
No.
enough to be remastered. Maybe they just meant the original footage was remastered, because there was a lot of original footage of Sam's funeral, stage performances,
interviews with Sam. There's a lot. Yeah, there's a lot of video of him, even though
Right.
you know you're talking the time periods were 50s and early 60s.
Right. So, but the video quality of that stuff was pretty damn good,
And audio quality was good as well, which usually that's more of an issue than the video back then.
So that's probably what they were really referring to as far as the remastering.
Yeah, man, what a great musician though. His voice was,
dude, iconic.
Dude, absolutely.
You know what I couldn't help but notice was that when he talked, because there were little interview snippets of him mixed in throughout the documentary, and every time he talked, I couldn't help but think, man, his tone and his delivery sounds so much like Michael Jackson. I wonder how much Michael Jackson took from Sam Cooke as a child, because he would have been watching Sam Cooke on television, at the beginning of his career.
Yeah.
So it's just interesting the way that both of them talked. They talked so soft and eloquently. Their voices were so similar, and also I don't think that's a coincidence. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. There's something about their voices that were so similar. Both
that's that is a good point. I could see that.
Yeah.
Yeah, unbelievable voice. So Samuel Cooke was born on January 22nd, 1931 in Clarksdale, Mississippi. Shares a birthday with Logic and Guy Fieri.
Dude, that's the day before my birthday. Right on. I'm 23rd.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. Logic and Guy Fieri. Nice. What a crew.
Love it.
What a crew.
Love it.
Like
Guys, dude, I it's pretty sad how much I love the Guy Fieri and Diners, Drive-Ins, and Dives. When I'm just hanging out on a Saturday or Sunday and I don't really want to sit down and watch TV, but let's say I'm cooking lunch or something, I will have that show on all day. As I'm in and out of the house doing work in the yard, I'll just have that damn show on, and then I'll stop and watch it for a few minutes. And
Guy Fieri cooking show?
The Diners, Drive-Ins, and Dives. I'll just because usually they'll just be on certain channels. It'll just be on all day, whatever cooking channel it is.
I didn't know that about you, man. I didn't know you enjoyed Guy Fieri that much.
The show is just a perfect show. I love the aspect that they're in a different town so you get a little taste of each city that he goes to, and then different types of food and how they make the food. I like to watch how they make it, because I like an organic style of cooking where you don't use recipes, where you just throw shit together. And I like to learn the principles of cooking, which is my cousin that lived with me for a couple of years as a roommate. I learned a lot of good cooking principles from him. How to make gravy, how to make a roux, all these certain things. Once you learn certain principles of cooking, you can cook anything.
Yes.
You don't need to lean on recipes. You learn to just taste the food and see what it needs based off of that. So I like to watch real chefs work and try to pick up on some of that stuff.
I hear you. Yeah, I love shows like that too, like Anthony Bourdain's show.
Yeah.
Just
rest in
shows
peace, man. That was a bummer.
Yes, rest in peace, absolutely. But any shows where they travel to different places and try the cuisine and try out the culture, and I love shows like that, man. I could get lost in those. Like you say, they are nice to kind of have on in the background, but you also can get caught up in them. Another one that you would not suspect is River Monsters with Jeremy Wade. Do you ever watch that show?
My wife is obsessed with that show.
Bro.
She actually has a crush on that dude for some reason. She likes really manly men.
It's
obviously.
It's his voice, man. It's his voice.
Yeah.
His voice is so calming and confident, but yet loving and sentimental. I don't know how to describe it. He's got an amazing voice.
It's he's like a therapy session while it's kind of like Steven Ranella in when you watch Meat Eater, at the same time, he's hunting, but he's also giving you life lessons throughout it.
Right. Yeah. I guess there's just a lot more time for life lessons during those things, like hunting and fishing, because there's so much downtime.
Right. Well, that's why it's so nice to go on a hunting or fishing trip with a family member, your dad, your whatever.
Yeah, somebody you
really
like to talk
truly
to.
quality time. There's no technology. You're just you're just out there.
Absolutely.
So back to the case.
Back to Sam here.
For sure. So Samuel Cooke, when he was born, spelt C-O-O-K, his last name. He later adds an E to it, which we'll talk about in a little bit.
Right, but reinvents himself.
Yeah, born in Clarksdale, Mississippi. So born in the South in 1931 as a black child during Jim Crow.
Rough time, dude. Rough time. His family did right by getting out of there.
Yeah, they chose to leave very soon after, which is probably a good decision, and it allowed Samuel, the chance to thrive in a city that accepted him more.
Absolutely.
He would later become known as the King of Soul, And as we just mentioned, his family would relocate to Chicago with, at a young age, as they saw what was going on in the South, giving them more opportunity. And he thrived as a child singing in church, and would later join the Soul Stirrers as lead singer in the 1950s, filling the big shoes of R.H. Harris, who was the lead singer at the time. And he was only 19 years old when he fills these shoes and becomes the lead singer of this well-known band.
Right. Imagine being R.H. Harris, being like, "What? Who's taking my place?"
Yeah. R.H. himself would later be inducted into the Hall of Fame, the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 1989.
Oh, yeah.
So that's
I mean, an amazing vocalist in himself. But I feel like they thought that Sam was the next generation
he was a rising
of
star.
the Soul Stirrers.
When
right?
they started traveling around to different churches, it was literally like the Beatles were coming.
Oh God, yeah, man. That was where it's at. So many musicians start in church, especially in the mid 1900s. You know what I'm saying? A lot of them start in church. I can relate in this. That's where I started singing. That's where I started singing. That's where I started playing guitar. Against my will. People are like,
and unfortunately, a lot of those churches wanted that to be it, like start and end here. Like you don't go beyond this, because this is God's music. And he started branching out into the rock world, and there was some naysayers to that whole thing. And he actually briefly put out an album under a different name for that reason, but it's pretty interesting to think about.
I understand that pressure 100%, because because you're told, like when you sing in church, you're told that anything that doesn't glorify God is glorifying Satan.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that's it.
It's black and white. There's no gray area, right?
Absolutely not. And I was also told as a kid, and I'm sure Sam was as well, that if you don't use your gifts for God, he'll take them from you.
Oh shit.
That kind of shit terrifies you. Yeah, you're like, well, God, I guess I better keep singing for God then. I don't want to not be able to sing at all. Like that's terrifying.
Yeah, you sing one rock song, and the next morning you wake up and you can't talk.
Boom, can't talk, tongue's gone.
It's over.
That's how it works.
Yep. So Sam's first marriage was to a singer-dancer named Dolores Cooke, Dolores Milligan Cooke, who took the stage name of Dee Dee Mohawk in 1953, and they would later divorce in 1958. So he'd be married a couple times. A year after their divorce, him and his first wife, she was killed in an auto accident in Fresno, California. And although they were divorced, Sam paid for his ex-wife's funeral expenses. In the 1950s, in 1959, the infamous murder of Emmett Till happened. Yes. And these events kept happening, and it's you could see Sam slowly morph and become more and more outspoken, which was a pretty dangerous thing to do at the time.
No doubt, but also the fact that this one right here just kind of put him over the edge, this Emmett Till lynching, because it happened in his home state. He felt like that's my people. Like, I know I left as a child, but this is where I'm from, and this is where a lot of my people and family
This could have been, he's probably thinking this could have been me.
Easily.
I mean, it was such a benign thing that Emmett, supposedly did, and it ended up getting him lynched, just merely even like looking or talking at a white woman. And he was 14, which
14.
I kind of neglected to remember that. Like, you hear the name Emmett Till, it sounds like a man to me, but he was 14. You see the pictures, he was a child.
And completely disfigured, beaten, lynched.
Yeah, just disgusting.
It absolutely is. And you can see how Sam couldn't pass this. He couldn't just let this go and just go on to Hollywood.
Well, he had a platform.
Yeah, he had a platform. He felt like he had a responsibility. And he never forgot about the South, which was very impressive, because he could have easily just went the other route of a lot of other, rich and famous African Americans at the time, who once they got to that level, they were just part of the rich and the famous.
Yeah, and they would probably mostly just perform in the North. And
I'm not going down there.
Yeah, Sam was still touring in the South, and he would get reminded when he would go down there of how different it was.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like they were still doing segregated audiences. Like if he would perform, it would be blacks up top in the nosebleeds essentially, and whites down below, or they would just straight up split them.
Yeah.
So on one side of the auditorium it would be whites, and the other side would be blacks. And he, at a certain point, said, "I'm not performing if that's the way it's going to be. I won't perform at your venue."
Yep.
And that was when he had a huge name.
Oh, I know. He almost shut down a damn concert. I think it was in Arkansas, somewhere around there.
Yep.
And Yeah, he was like, I'm not performing if the crowd is segregated. And all of the other performers who were all black people as well, they all performed. But what sucks...
Think of the irony of that. They're there to see a black artist,
I know.
and yet they're still like...
It's crazy.
Putting the whites in the better seats and things like that. It's just crazy.
But it just goes to show you the mindset of the other, like I say, the other people who had the same platforms. Maybe they weren't the headliners, but they still had platforms. They still had clout in their community, and yet they still chose to take the easier way out. It's like, imagine if all of these people who said they were going to stand with Sam actually stood with him. How much more different would this be? You know what I mean? How much more impactful would it have been if all of the other performers didn't go out there as well?
That's how it is, man. It takes, people have to stand up together.
Yeah, absolutely. It's difficult.
So while being the lead singer for the Soul Stirrers, Sam began sneaking off to attend rock shows. And this is where you hear the quote in the documentary of the mindset of churches back then was either you're going to sing God's music or you're going to sing the devil's music. Still
the mindset.
And so because of this, when he released his first pop and soul single called Lovable, which was a remake of the gospel song Wonderful, he released it under the alias of Dale Cook in order to not alienate his gospel fan base. However, his voice was so iconic, it's just he wasn't fooling anybody. Like everybody knew it was
Sam's
him. He's using the same last name first of all, and then you hear his voice, and it's like that's clearly Sam.
Right.
Cooke.
Right. Oh my God. I was gonna say something.
Then going solo in 1957 is when he added the E to his last name to signify a new start to his life. Mm-hmm. So him kind of converting into rock and roll and soul, which rock and rolls, when you hear the music that was considered rock and roll in the 50s, it's like, very Elvis-esque. It's not what you consider rock and roll.
It's like
Little
Richard,
era.
Chuck Berry, Elvis. Yeah. It's not like rock. It's not like hardcore rock by any means. Right? It's just rock.
It was just such a conservative society back then that just Elvis merely shaking his hips was like not even allowed on television.
Right. So vulgar. Oh my God.
It's crazy to think about that. Like every TV show back then, like the spouses had different beds.
Yeah. I also love that the church got upset about him like redoing Lovable and making it Wonderful. And like changing the song basically that was about God to making it about a girl, right? Mm-hmm. But the irony in that is most of the hymns that people sing in church, and even in predominantly white churches and Southern Baptist churches and stuff, those hymns that you're singing didn't start out as hymns. They started out as like slave songs and different like plantation songs and chants and things like that got turned into popular hymns. It's like, well, you as Christians stole music, so
they're being hypocrites.
Yeah, you see what I'm saying? So what does it matter if he wants to take a quote-unquote Christian song and make it secular when you guys have been doing the opposite this whole time?
Right.
It's silly to me, dude.
100%.
Yeah. But this is where he adds the E to his last name, though, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, so when he went solo in 1957 to get a new start, he adds the E to his last name, and he later admitted that he got an endorsement for a career in pop music from the least likely man, his pastor father. Mm-hmm. Quote, "My father told me it was not what I sang that was important, but that God gave me a voice and a musical talent, and the true use of this gift was the way to share it and make people happy."
Right on.
And so adding that E to his last name, he sought a fresh start in pop music rather than just singing in churches.
Man, what a progressive father.
And this turned out to be a hell of a decision for his career because he takes off and becomes world-renowned after this.
Oh, you know it, dude. His audience just expanded to literally everyone.
Yeah. So in 1957, Sam appears on ABC's The Guy Mitchell Show. That same year, he signed with Keane Records. His first hit, "You Send Me," spent 6 weeks at number 1 on the Billboard R&B chart. The song also had mainstream success, spending 3 weeks at number 1 on the Billboard Pop chart, and elevated him from earning $200 a week to over $5,000 a week.
Damn, that's good money.
In 1950s, dude, that's so much money right
Seriously.
now. I can't even imagine in 50s. Like you could literally buy a house for $5,000.
I know, right? And he was making
probably
a
few houses for $5,000 back then, to be honest.
He was making $5,000 a week, man.
He was balling.
The music business was so lucrative. Imagine what his record company was making off him.
I was gonna say that's what they gave him, which means they must have been making like $100,000 a week, because they only give you a fucking peanut.
Oh, yeah.
This is just another story to me. Like, there's obviously more elements to it because of his color and stuff like that, but the music industry is dirty. We could do so many cases like this where there's a suspicious death of an artist, Jimi Hendrix, Kurt Cobain.
Yep.
And they screw them over throughout most of their career, and then finally when they get vocal and try to make their own money and like start their own label or whatever, that's when they get killed.
Yep.
So often.
Absolutely, they're getting too powerful.
Yeah. So Sam would soon release a string of hit songs, and a lot of these he's writing. Is he writing all of these songs or just some of them? Because he was also a prolific songwriter as well, which is
I'm
rare.
sure he's writing most of these. Like A Change Is Gonna Come, definitely Chain Gang.
Yeah.
That's one of his. Twisting the Night Away.
Yeah.
I know he wrote those, but I mean, I'm sure he collaborated with some of these. And I know there were a few singers that also sung in the gospel circuit that wrote secular songs as well. They want to get their names on those things as well. So I'm sure some of the soul stirrers probably helped influence some of these songs, if not write them.
Yeah.
But he was an amazing songwriter as well. And like trying to sing his songs and cover his songs, you don't see it very often because, God damn, trying to sing like that.
It's hard to beat it. It's hard to beat the way he did it, right?
Yes, it really is. It's like
you listen to "You Send Me." Good luck doing it better. Like the way that the cadence to which he sings. It's
yes. Like if you in the documentary, he covered "Blowin' in the Wind" by Bob Dylan, and it's just a totally different song. Like when he sings it, you're like, holy crap! It's like I recognize this, but damn, I ain't never heard it like this before.
It's crazy to think how long Bob Dylan's been around when you think about that.
Oh, I know.
Because Sam Cooke's been dead since 1962 or something.
Yeah, Bob Dylan's still here. He's still here.
It's wild. Like Sam covered a Bob Dylan song, and he's been dead for 60 something years now. Sam Cooke.
Yeah, Bob Dylan is so tied into musical history. It's ridiculous. We could probably do tons of artists, and he'd pop up in almost all of them.
Oh yeah, right.
He's crazy. So prolific.
So Sam released 29 singles that charted in the top 40 of the Billboard pop singles chart, as well as 20 singles in the top 10. So he would spend a lot of time right at the top, alternating with Elvis at the time.
Yep.
1 and 2 would be them.
Yep. I know they shared a story. He shared a story where he had some of his, hometown friends and stuff over, and he was like, "Yeah, Elvis is going to come over later and meet all you." And they were like, "Yeah, whatever."
And they're like, "Sure, bro.
Sure he is. Sure Elvis is coming over." And then the dude shows up, and they're like, "Holy shit, Sam done made it."
Right.
Fucking Elvis Presley just walked up in his house. What are we doing?
Yeah.
Like, that had to be like, that just had to be the moment, dude, for his friends and everyone connected to him. I mean, if you had any doubt that Sam Cooke was the real deal at that time, I mean, goddamn, number 1 and number 2 in the whole world, really, at the time.
Yep.
We're friends. That's crazy.
Yep. So he made an appearance on the Ed Sullivan Show, then doing a show hosted by Dick Clark, even after threats from the KKK. So
yeah,
I mean, it was not common for a black person to be the guest on something like the Ed Sullivan Show at the time, and clearly the Dick Clark Show as well.
Right.
There was threats coming in. Dick Clark questioned whether they should go forward with it because he was worried for Sam's safety because there were so many threats from the KKK. But
and the mob, dude. And the mob was fucking with him about that too.
Yeah, the mob as well.
Even Sammy Davis Jr. Called Sam and told him not to do this. He's like, "You don't know who these guys are. You don't know who you're fucking with. Like, don't do this show." And he was like, "Man, fuck you. I'm doing a show." I love it.
Yeah, he did it.
I love it. I didn't know this about Sam Cooke. I didn't know that he was this type of person, man. It just makes me love him even more.
Right. Yeah, he had big balls, man.
For sure.
He then moved to California, and in 1958 he would marry his second wife, Barbara Campbell, in Chicago, and his father performed the ceremony at their wedding. Together they would have 3 children, Linda, Tracy, and Vincent. Vincent dying tragically at only a year old. We'll talk about that in a minute. It kind of changed. It changed Sam, obviously.
Horrible accident.
As losing a young child would.
Yes.
Sam also fathered at least 3 children out of wedlock. He got around. He liked women. Let's put it that way.
Well, I mean, that's typical for a musician at that time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So did Elvis. So did Johnny Cash.
You're on the road all the time. women throwing themselves at you left and right.
It is what it is. And then like the relationships that they're in, you know, those women aren't stupid. They know what the fuck's going on. They understand what they're signing up for. You know, it's just it's a different world, man. Different relationships like that.
Yeah. In 1958, a woman in Philadelphia named Collie Balling claimed that Sam was the father of her son, and he would allegedly pay her out $5,000 in a settlement out of court, which was 1 week's pay for him at the time. So
it's like, whatever.
If he could just wipe his hands with that one,
right? She can live a year off that
for a week's pay.
Probably.
Yeah, I mean, whether it was or not his kid is still. I mean, he may have just paid her that even if it wasn't his kid, just to get it over with.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. Like you say, 1 week's pay. Like, Either way, I'm setting this lady up and this kid. They can at least buy.
That being said, Sam, like, bro, when you're out adulterating on the road and whatnot, put a condom on, dude. Like, what are you doing?
Right.
Maybe quit raw dogging it on the road, man. It's generally not a good idea, STD wise, and also like you end up with a bunch of kids all over the place.
They weren't worried about that stuff in the 50s, man.
I guess
they
not.
Didn't care.
So Sam would sign with RCA, the infamous record label, in January of 1960, having been offered a guaranteed $100,000 by the label's producers. One of RCA's singles was Chain Gang, which reached number 2 on the Billboard pop chart, and it was followed by more hits including Sad Mood, Cupid, Bring It Home to Me, Another Saturday Night, and Twistin' the Night Away.
Nice.
The Chain Gang song was pretty controversial too. I mean, obviously he's talking about slavery.
Right.
In a big major pop song, you're bringing to light stuff that's not supposed to be in the mainstream limelight like that.
Yes. Isn't it interesting the way that they first started doing that? It's like when we think of like political protest music, we think of like Rage Against the Machine, shit like that. But in the 50s, this is how it started. You had to give it to them in a way that they could accept it, in a way that people
could digest
exactly, the way people could digest it, the way that they could understand. And also, Chain Gang, that's a bop right there. You put that shit on, you're like, okay, yeah, this is nice. Yeah. This is nice. And then before you know it, you're starting to hear the words.
You're like, wait, what's this about?
Right. It reminds me of a song called Strange Fruit by Billie Holiday. Have you ever heard that song? No. She was a black artist around the same time, and she's singing a song called Strange Fruit, and it's obviously about lynching black people. And it's the way it's sung, it sounds like something you would listen to in like a nightclub, like a very nice nightclub where everyone's, dressed to the tins, and there's one woman on stage with a spotlight, and that was her. And she was singing these types of songs. And people were like, wait, what did she just say?
Right.
And
wow.
It's just a great example of how they had to slide these things in to history and to culture to get them out, because these people had the foothold in not only black American families but also white American families too. So they felt like they would be heard, and they were right. They were.
Yeah. You had to be sneakier about the message you were trying to get out.
Exactly.
Yeah. So another event occurs in the to a successful black artist as well. Jesse Belvin was an American singer, pianist, and songwriter that was popular in the 1950s, and his success was cut short by his death in a car crash at the age of 27. Another member of the 27 Club.
Oh wow! I didn't even realize that.
Yeah, it would be later speculated that his tires in his vehicle had been slashed. What is known is that Belvin, his wife Joanne, and the driver of the car were involved in a horrific head-on collision in Hope, Arkansas on February 6, 1960, about 4 hours after the singer completed his concert in Little Rock. Belvin, who was 27 at the time, and the driver died at the scene. Joanne, his wife, 23, later died at the hospital. According to a report, one of the first state troopers investigated the accident said both of the rear tires of Belvin's black Cadillac had been tampered with. Other reports said the tires had been slashed. He had reportedly received 6 death threats prior to the concert, which was to be the first in the city with an integrated audience. So, Arkansas, 1960, he gets a bunch of threats. He leaves the show and then, has this accident. His tires seem to be tampered with.
Right.
The show itself had been stopped twice because of belligerent white people angry at the idea of whites and blacks that were mingling together in a concert setting, and they kept shouting racial slurs and urging white teens to leave. Quote, from eyewitness accounts outside the concert, at least 5 young men were seen hovering near Jesse Belvin's and Jackie Wilson's vehicles. One person stated that the 2 men were trying to block the view of Belvin's car while another was underneath it. Following this, Sam refused to play segregated venues any longer. So it's just another thing that set him off and, made him try to change things.
Absolutely. You can understand this. It's like one person is doing what he wants to do, and then they immediately are found dead under suspicious circumstances. Yeah, this is just another thing. Along with Emmett Till, now he's carrying the weight of this as well. And this is just more fuel to his fire.
Yep. He also begins to embrace his natural hair, displaying an afro on television, which was not common at the time, starting a trend for other black artists. So they used to, slick their hair back and things like that.
Yeah. And think Sammy Davis Jr. That's who I always think about when I think of, or like Little Richard. The way that he used to style his hair, like really, slick back, almost like 50s, like almost Elvis style.
Yeah. Which I suppose was common for all artists at the time. Like the slick back thing was just kind of the look, but
yeah.
But Sam started displaying an afro on television, which was surprising to a lot of people, and it was a bold move. But a lot of the artists followed suit, and it became commonplace.
Right on.
Around this time, Sam commissioned Alan Klein, a well-known accountant in New York, to audit RCA and find out that he wasn't making as much as he should from his hit songs. Surprise, surprise.
Yeah.
This Alan Klein character plays a big role in this case. He also,
he does.
He worked with a lot of major artists like the Beatles, and who else was it? The documentary talked about him.
I think didn't he work with the Stones too? He worked with quite a few people. Yeah, I'm gonna see here. Let's pull him up on Wiki to see who all he worked with. Yeah, he worked with the Beatles, the Stones, Sam Cooke. Let's see, Buddy Knox, and Jimmy Bowen. Those are the biggest names. It looks like that he worked with there. He was a big part of the British invasion. You know what I'm saying? Like he was really trying to get new artists on the scene. He was scooping them up. He was good at finding new talent, that's for sure.
Yeah, and there's talk that he had falling outs with some of these big bands for trying to kind of screw them over in a sense, gain ownership over their material. Mm-hmm. He does this to Sam as well in a sneaky fashion. Sam finds out.
Yep.
And there's talk that maybe Alan Klein could have had something to do with Sam's death later on.
Man, it's not crazy. It's not crazy.
So in 1961, Sam started his own record label, SAR Records, with J.W. Alexander and his manager Roy Crane. Sam then created a publishing imprint and management firm named CAGS. At this point, he gets more threats from the mob because they don't want you. They want you tied into the system because they can cipher money out of it. When you're attached to these record labels and things like that, they can bully them and bully the artists just like they do to the unions and things like that. But when you start your own stuff, it just cuts a lot of other people out of the money train.
Right. At this time, the mob was involved in anything lucrative, and there was very few things more lucrative than the music business.
And the music industry was very lucrative.
Yes, and it still is. They're still robbing artists. I can pay them pennies on Spotify and shit.
Yeah. Around this time, Sam made some very powerful fellow, some powerful friends in the black community. Right. Muhammad Ali, who was at the time going by Cassius Clay, but would soon change his name to Muhammad Ali. It became known that I guess Muhammad Ali's mom was a big fan of Sam, and Sam sent his guy over to Muhammad Ali's house and had him knock on the door, and immediately had the door slammed on him until he screamed out Sam's name, at which point Muhammad Ali's mom heard in the background and let him in. And Muhammad Ali and Sam Cooke became very tight after that and were seen together a lot. They made an album together, actually, called I Am the Greatest.
Yeah. They did a little snippet of it in the documentary. Muhammad Ali's not bad. He's got a good voice. Yeah. Very smooth.
And after winning the heavyweight title, he actually was. You can go back and look at the footage in the ring when everybody crowds into the ring, and he takes the microphone and he's calling Sam into the ring.
Yeah.
Saying he's the best artist in the world at the time.
Yeah, he's like, that's the best rock and roll singer of all time right here. Let this man on stage.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's incredible.
Sam also makes contact and is seen in public with Malcolm X on multiple occasions, which put him on the FBI's radar, who were already surveying Muhammad Ali and Malcolm X at the time. So this young black singer getting in with them, that puts him on J. Edgar Hoover and the FBI's radar as part of COINTELPRO, which we brought up in the FBI commission, or what was that, the Citizens Commission to investigate the FBI episode. We talked about COINTELPRO quite a bit,
we did.
and some of the dirty stuff that the FBI used to do.
Yep.
And there's also talks that the FBI should have gotten involved in Sam's death and investigated it if it was Elvis or somebody like that had been killed in the fashion that he was, that they would have investigated it. And there's also talks that maybe the FBI had something to do with his death, which is why they wouldn't investigate it.
Yeah, Muhammad Ali actually said that in an interview, talking about how if he had been a white entertainer, this would have been investigated thoroughly.
Yeah. Tragedy struck for Sam in 1963 when his youngest child, Vincent, who was only 1 year old at the time, drowned in the family pool.
This is heartbreaking right here. This is like a parent's worst nightmare, dude. Worst nightmare.
Yeah, if you have toddlers and a pool, definitely put a gate around that shit, because all it takes is like 2 seconds of looking away. I know you think that you can keep your eye on them all the time, but it happens so fast.
Right. And
it's just like one of the most tragic things.
Yeah, it is.
This obviously affected Sam greatly. He plowed himself deeper into work as a means of coping with the pain. They'd mentioned in the documentary that all he wanted to do was work after this. He didn't even like being home because the pool was in the front yard and he had to walk past the pool to go into the home. And of course, how could you walk past that without
house,
immediately being reminded of the tragic situation? Yeah, I'd be fucking out of there. There was no way I would keep that house.
Especially if I was Sam Cooke.
Especially, he's got all the money in the world at the time. Like, you just get rid of that house, man.
Yeah, we got to start over somewhere else.
I would fill that pool in with concrete and then I would sell it.
Well, the next person might want the pool.
Yeah, well, that pool's
too bad.
Cursed.
Too bad. Yeah. I feel you.
That same year, Sam started a new record label called Tracy Unlimited, the name coming from his middle child, his daughter, named Tracy. Not long after starting Tracy Unlimited, Sam got the flu and was stuck at home and had time on his hands to go through the fine print of his ownership contract, which he had written up with Alan Klein, the accountant from New York.
Right.
So he's looking through, he's sick, he's got time, and he starts looking through the fine print of this ownership contract of Tracy Unlimited and finds out that there is a lack thereof of ownership on his part. And in fact, it's actually owned by Klein. So Klein had screwed him over and in the fine print, gave himself ownership of this company. Now, Sam planned to resolve this situation and confront, there's talks that he had called Klein and had heated arguments with him about this, contract in regards to Tracy Limited. And this leads up to the day of his death, and it's suspicious timing.
Isn't it, though?
That, just days prior to his death, he's in this heated argument with this man about the ownership of his music and his company.
And you're talking a lot of money at stake here.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, whoever has ownership of this is going to see the majority of the profits, obviously.
No doubt.
So on December 10th, 1964, Sam Cooke met with his friend Al Schmitt, who is a legend in the music business himself, a sound engineer and record producer who has a laundry list of big stars that he's worked with. And at the time, he was very good friends with Sam Cooke and basically produced his music with him. It was them in the studio together making his hit songs.
Right.
And so on December 10th, 1964, Sam met with Al Schmitt at Martoni's in Los Angeles, which is like a bar restaurant.
Right.
Al was there with his wife, and Sam comes over, hangs out with him for a bit, and at some point during their conversation, he breaks out a giant wad of cash out of his pocket that he had just made while touring. And Al Schmitt's telling him, like, dude, put that away. That's not smart to be flashing that around in Los Angeles and in some club or whatever. Right. Like if someone sees you. And he's like, yeah, whatever. A little bit later, Al Schmitt and his wife leave, and they see that Sam is sitting at a bar with a woman that they don't recognize. But which was not out of norm for Sam. We talked, he liked the ladies.
Right.
So they didn't think much of it. They left, and they would receive a call early that next morning that their friend had been shot. So after Al and his wife left, they see him sitting at the bar. The woman would turn out to be a woman named Lisa Boyer. Sam and Lisa would next make their way to Sam's hotel room at the Hacienda Motel in South Central Los Angeles. and that's where things would go haywire. There's,
Yep.
we mainly get Lisa Boyer's side of the story. She's the one who lives through this, and she was with him. She was the last person.
Right.
I guess not the last person to see him alive, because the person that shot him would be the last person to see him alive. But
True.
answering separate reports of a shooting and a kidnapping at the motel, police find Sam Cooke's body at the Hacienda Motel, and he had sustained a gunshot wound to the chest, which was later determined to have pierced his heart. And the story is that the hotel's manager, Bertha Franklin, claimed to have shot him in self-defense. Her account was that was immediately disputed by Cooke's acquaintances, but she says that he, in the middle of the night, was pounding on her door, the manager's office door, and actually kicked in the door and essentially attacked her, started grabbing her arms. She says she claimed to have bit him at one point.
Right.
And when she was able to get him off of her long enough to get to her gun, that's when she shot him in self-defense. So what had happened was Sam goes back to his hotel room with this Lisa, who turns out is a sex worker. And in the room, she claims that, on the stand, she claims that he was basically attempting to rape her.
Right.
Which is a bit odd.
It's odd, the fact that
it's out of character for him. We've never heard reports of him being forceful on women or anything like that. And she's also a sex worker, and she may very well have seen him flashing that cash around, which that's my theories. Clearly, she was intending to rob him.
Right.
And it's believed that she threw his pants with that wad of cash out the window to either her pimp or someone that she worked with.
Yeah, either way.
Because the pants disappear and aren't seen again. Neither is the money.
Either way, she took his pants and said that she did it on accident.
Yeah.
But come on.
Yeah, she said, I accidentally grabbed his clothes instead of mine as she was running out. So supposedly he went to the bathroom, right, for a minute, and then he was going to come back and do whatever to her. And she saw her opportunity, grabbed his pants, threw him out the window and on her way out. And then she calls the police from a payphone and says that she had been abducted and this man was trying to rape her.
And
meanwhile,
and the phone call sounds so staged, though, to be fair. When you listen to this,
the audio is available.
The audio of the phone call is available, and they also play the entire thing on the documentary on Netflix as well. But when you hear this phone call, you're like, wow, is she reading this off a piece of paper? Like, she's not even that shook up. She's not even shook up about it. She's not even really stressed. And then she doesn't give a name. She hangs up before she gives a name. It's just the whole thing is super suspicious.
Yeah, the motel's owner, Evelyn Carr, was actually on the phone with the woman that Franklin that shot Sam Cooke during the confrontation. She said that she overheard Cooke's intrusion and the ensuing conflict and gunshot, and she calls the police as well. So you have Lisa Boyer call the police from outside at a payphone, and you also have the owner of the hotel, which was on the phone and heard this whole thing and the gunshot go off, and she calls the police as well.
I wonder if that phone call was confirmed. The call from the owner to the hotel manager during the confrontation, was that confirmed?
I don't know.
Because, I mean, if we can't confirm that, we got a lot of other questions. You know what I'm saying? Because that little phone call right there really helps put a nail in the coffin, because now you have 2 women, 3 women even, that are saying the same thing, and it's all adding up. You know what I'm saying? It's just this circumstantial evidence of witnesses. There's no real evidence that this went down, but it just seems so convincing, doesn't it? Especially when someone's like, "Yeah, I was on the phone with her. I heard everything. I heard Sam getting loud with her. I heard the struggle. I heard the gunshot."
Yeah, she supposedly heard she heard the man in the background of the phone shouting, "Where's the girl?" in reference to, we would later find out in reference to Elisa Boyer, who had accompanied him to the hotel and had taken off with his money.
Right. It
all kind of makes sense, really. Like, you can see this thing happening. Like the Lisa Boyer intends to rob him. This happens all the time in places like downtown Los Angeles. Someone's flashing money,
right?
And a sex worker sees it and lets maybe her pimp or whoever know that I'm gonna rip this person off.
Yep.
And they plan this thing. They have him wait outside the hotel. She throws the pants out the window and tries to get out of there.
So you think
successfully climbs out the window, and then you get Sam pissed off and looking for her. For whatever reason, supposedly he was convinced that she ran into the manager's office, and that's why he kicks down that door looking for her.
Right. He's not looking for her. He's looking for that fucking wad of cash. Like, you can understand
exactly.
that.
He could care less about her. He wants his money back.
One of the people in the doc, I think it was the record producer's wife who was there with him that night, she said that he had like $5,000. So, I mean, he's got a week's worth of income in his pocket.
Yeah.
And he's going to be fucking pissed looking for her. Like, yeah, that part adds up. That part adds up for sure. But there's so many things I have questions about.
Yeah, so according to Franklin, she grappled with Cooke. The two of them fell to the floor. Then she got up and ran to retrieve her gun. She said she fired at Cooke in self-defense because she feared for her life. Sam was struck once in the torso. According to Franklin, he exclaimed, "Lady, you shot me," in a tone that expressed perplexity rather than anger before advancing on her again. She said she hit him in the head with a broomstick before he finally fell to the floor and died. A coroner's inquest was convened to investigate the incident. Lisa Boyer told the police that she had first met Cooke earlier that night and had spent the evening in his company. She said that after they left the nightclub together, she had repeatedly requested that he take her home, but instead he took her against her will to the Hacienda Motel. She said that once inside the room, Cooke physically forced her onto the bed, then stripped her of her panties. She said that she was sure that he was going to rape her. Cooke allowed her to use the bathroom, for which she attempted an escape, but found that the window was firmly shut. According to Lisa, she returned to the main room where Cooke continued to molest her. When he went to use the bathroom, she quickly grabbed her clothes and ran from the room. She said that in her haste, she also scooped up most of Cooke's clothing by mistake. Sure.
Right. It's just, it's so fishy, dude.
She said she first ran to the manager's office and knocked on the door seeking help. However, she said that the manager took too long to respond, so fearing Cooke she would soon be coming after her, she fled the motel before the manager opened the door. So that might be why Sam thought that she was in the manager's room, because he heard her pounding on that manager door.
Absolutely. And then he heard the pounding stop, so he assumed that she let her in, that the manager let the girl in. Yeah.
And then the manager's not letting him in.
Right.
In his mind, he's thinking she's protecting her or whatever.
Yeah.
And meanwhile, she's got his $5,000.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You could see how this could play out like this. It's just the reasons all this happened that doesn't add up. It's like the story.
What do you mean by that?
Yeah.
What do you mean by the reason doesn't add up? To me, the whole motive was robbery, and then it just spiraled out of control for there.
No, I'm talking about the reasons in which Sam reacted. Like she's saying, the reason they're in the hotel room is because he wanted to rape her. The reason she left is because he wouldn't stop advancing. Then why did he let her go to the bathroom, and why the hell did he go to the bathroom? Like, it seems like he's really taking his time with this rape. I don't get that, dude. Like, I don't mean to be like super blunt, but that just don't add up. I feel like robbery.
No, I don't think there's a person alive that believes her story.
She was planted.
When you hear the way she tells it, yeah, it was clearly a planned. Robbery.
Yes, she was planted at the club, even in my opinion.
Yeah.
I don't know
100%.
by who, but she was planted at that club. This was all planned. All this shit. He was supposed to meet her that night. They knew he had. I think the money was just extra. That was just like, well, we know we're going to kill him tonight anyways, or something's going to happen to him. So. We're going to take the money anyways.
So Lisa's story is the only account of what happened between her and Cooke that night, and her story has long been called into question. Inconsistencies between her version of events and details reported by diners at Martoni's restaurant, where Cooke dined and drank earlier that evening, suggest that Boyer may have gone willingly into the motel with Cooke, then slipped out of the room with his clothing to rob him rather than escaping an attempted rape. Sam was reportedly carrying a large amount of money, as we talked about. However, a search of Boyer's purse by police revealed nothing except a $20 bill, and a search of Cooke's Ferrari found only a money clip with $108 and a few loose coins. So that $5,000 wad of cash is gone.
Yep.
Which leads you to believe that she had, someone working with her.
Absolutely. Well, you can't, during the investigation, you can't be found with that money on you, because then it's a no-brainer. No. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so she had to pass.
Not only that, you're not going to get it back if they confiscate it.
Oh yeah.
As part of a murder investigation.
Oh yeah, no doubt.
Yeah. However, questions about Boyer's role were beyond the scope of an inquest, the purpose of which was only to establish the circumstances of Franklin's role in the shooting. The police would ultimately close the case with very little further investigation and rule it justified homicide as basically self-defense.
And that's it. And then the coroner, what did they accept? They just accepted all that? Because he did have 3 gunshot wounds, right? So as far as the coroner's concerned, they're like, yeah, he died of a gunshot wound to the chest. I mean, all that adds up.
Yeah.
But it's like, was the hotel manager in on it too?
That's where I pause. It's like, I'm totally in on the fact that this could have been a conspiracy, that, you know, the music industry, he's trying to make all of his own bones in the music, and he's starting his own record label and all that stuff.
Right.
And he's cutting out the guy that he was working with that tried to steal ownership of his company. That guy certainly has motive to try and take out Sam if Sam's going to get full ownership of that, and he thought he had that.
Right.
There's motive there. There's motive on the part of the music industry in general. There's motive on the part of the FBI, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
You know, an outspoken black man who's using his platform to, you know, talk about the wrongdoings and a lot of the issues in the country at the time.
Yeah.
There's motive there. My only pause here, as far as the conspiracy of this being a hit, is the manager, like the manager's office. Now, there's talks that, you know, the woman that shot him was supposedly attached to the mob. I didn't see any actual like evidence of that. It's just like, is that just hearsay?
Well,
of
what
course,
if
it's easy to just put that out there and then it gets parroted?
Or the mob,
but where's the proof?
Was already contracted with her to protect that business, and maybe they contacted her and was like,
that's quite an
"Look."
elaborate scheme, though. Like, so how did they know for sure that Sam was going to go pound on that manager door and kick down the door?
Because
like,
they told the girl to go into that room or bang on that door. You know what I'm saying? Like, it could be planned, and that is just the type of elaborate scheme you would need to kill a superstar like Sam Cooke and get away with it. You need something like that. You need all these plausibles, and dare I say, you need a black person to pull the trigger, and that hotel manager was a black person. You see what I'm saying?
That's a pretty elaborate hit. That's all I'm saying. It seems a bit far-fetched to know that he was going to go knock down that door of the manager's office. Like, just because she went and knocked on it, like they knew that he would assume that she was in there. Like, what if he comes out right as she's running away from the manager's door and he just chases her down there? Like, I don't know, man. It seems like it's too elaborate. There's too many ways for that plan to go wrong.
True.
It just worked out too perfectly for that to have been planned. I think it was definitely a planned robbery. I think that Lisa Boyer for sure planned to rob him, but I don't know if she was commissioned there by higher powers, you know, someone in the mob, someone in the FBI, whatever.
Maybe they planned to rob him, and then she was still going to go to the police and just try to kind of ruin his reputation. Right? By saying, "Oh, Sam Cooke tried to rape me in a hotel room," and this and that, right? And then that
makes more sense to me.
That makes
more sense.
Yeah, that would be very detrimental to him at the time. Obviously, he's really gaining ground. But it's just the timing, though, man. Right after he finds out that his contract is messed up, he's finding out he's not the owner of his own company, and he's tried to make contact with Alan Klein as well, and then he ends up dead. Yep. It's just like, I don't know, man. It just sounds so fishy.
If
you think
Lisa Boyer had shot him in self-defense, I would say 100% this was a hit that was planned by someone higher up than her, you know, whether it was Alan Klein or someone in the music industry, who I would say 100%. But the fact that the way it went down with the manager, him breaking down the door and she killing him, like, that's hard for me to accept that they planned it that way.
Well, not if they planned to go to that hotel. You know what I mean? If they plan to go to that hotel. Like, I know she says, "Oh, I wanted him to take me home and stuff." Well, then why'd you even get in the car with him? What, you know who he is. You know what you know what I'm saying? You know what you do for a living. Why did you even go with him from the party? And it's like, I don't know. There was just no talk about taking her home, in my opinion. She probably recommended the hotel, and if indeed she did recommend the hotel.
Well, no, he had already checked into that hotel earlier that day, so.
Oh, well, that's even more. So they knew where he was. He
suggested that hotel. Yeah, they knew where he was. Yeah, they did.
See what I'm saying, man? I don't know. It could be planned. It could absolutely be planned, and that manager is the perfect person to take the fall. An older black woman kills him in self-defense.
I won't rule it out as a possibility. I just think it would be hard to make that work so perfectly. You know, the timing of everything with Lisa leaving, pounding on the door, and how did they know that he wasn't going to come out while she was, like I said, going from the manager door out the hallway and out of the hotel altogether? Like,
it could have been,
that timing had to work out perfectly.
Well, they could have planned, something else. Like they gave the manager the gun or whatever, and they're like, "Look, he's going to come out. He's going to be angry at her, and you're going to have to defend her with this gun. That's what's going to happen. We don't know how it's going to play out, but it played out even better because he came right to her instead of her coming out and catching them arguing on the on the the balcony or whatever. Because I'm imagining it was that type of hotel, I guess, where they had like exterior doors for each room. You know what I'm saying?
I don't see why they wouldn't have just had Lisa shoot him and say that he was raping her. That would have worked out just fine.
Because
they didn't need to go to these lengths.
But if you do that, then you have to investigate it. It's like, who is this Lisa person? Why did this happen? You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know. I see what you're saying. I'm not 100% on anything. I totally see what you're saying, but I'm just saying, if you're trying to kill someone of this status and this type of influence, that shit better look like a damn accident. And I just don't put it past people, man. With all the people that were tied into this, and you had the mob that threatened them as well, you had all this money on the table for the record dealers. It's like more creative hits have happened. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Way more creative. So I don't know, man. It's the timing. I just can't get over the timing. It's just too perfect. Yeah. It's too perfect. The very day he finds out he's being done wrong, and he's gone.
Well, supposedly Boyer and Franklin would both pass polygraph tests. The coroner's jury ultimately accepted Franklin's explanation and returned a verdict of justifiable homicide. And with that verdict, authorities officially closed the case on Cooke's death. Some of Sam's family and supporters, however, have rejected Boyer's version of events, as well as those given by Franklin and Carr. They believe that there was a conspiracy to murder Cooke and that the murder took place in some manner entirely different from the three official accounts. There's also that possibility that it didn't actually even go down the way that it supposedly went down.
Exactly.
You know?
Exactly. I mean,
what if the manager let him in and shot him, and then they had someone kick down the door afterwards, or make the scene look the way it needed to look.
Exactly.
That's
what I'm saying,
too.
Dude. We're all just going by word of mouth. And the fact that they, passed polygraphs, that don't mean nothing. They already had this shit planned. They've said this stuff over and over and over in their head. If it was set up. And it's also,
isn't it, now that you think about it, isn't it kind of convenient that his room happened to be right next to the manager's door?
That is pretty convenient.
It's like, did they put him in that room specifically for a reason?
That's what I'm saying. And, the mob, they had connections to these big businesses. And if this is a lucrative hotel in L.A., you don't think the mob already has their fingers in this for protection or for whatever they're offering? Like, they're watching him, man. He done went on the Ed Sullivan show and Dick Clark show, and he ignored all of their warnings for all that shit. They were watching him. They were seriously watching him.
Yeah, and on the perceived lack of an investigation, Sam's close friend Muhammad Ali said, quote, "If Cooke had been Frank Sinatra, the Beatles, or Ricky Nelson, the FBI would be investigating."
Yep.
And singer Etta James viewed Cooke's body before his funeral and questioned the accuracy of the official version of events. She wrote that the injuries she observed were well beyond the official account of Cooke having fought Franklin alone. She wrote that Cooke was so badly beaten that his head was nearly separated from his shoulders. His hands were broken and crushed. His nose was mangled.
Yeah, how'd his hands get broken and crushed, man? That don't make no sense.
Crazy.
I don't know about that.
That is odd. That is odd that his body was so beaten up. If it was just him fighting with this female manager and her shooting him, I mean, she did mention hitting him with a broomstick, but that's not going to do that kind of damage. And what happened to his hands?
It sure as hell ain't going to nearly decapitate him. That's for sure.
No.
Yeah, something just don't add up, man. Something ain't right about that.
So some have speculated that his manager Alan Klein had a role in his death. Klein owned Tracy Limited, which ultimately owned all the rights to Cooke's recordings, which he had recently found out and confronted him about, and wanted to regain his ownership of his own record label.
Yep.
However, no concrete evidence supporting a criminal conspiracy has been presented, and that's that. I mean, it's the case has just gotten older and older, and a lot of people attached to this are either dead or in their 80s, 90s.
Yeah.
And we'll probably never know the truth of what actually happened, unfortunately.
And that's the way the documentary ends, and it's like, what? That's all?
Yeah.
That's it?
Yeah, I will say the documentary, it's well done, but it's more of a historical biography on Sam Cooke than it is like a murder doc.
Well,
it's
it has
like
to
5
be.
minutes at the
There's
end
nothing
covers
about
the murder, and that's
there's nothing about the murder hardly. And then they accepted everybody's confession as truth. It's just cut and dry. So
Yeah.
what else can you do with it? There's not. I was wondering. I was just like, because I read, a brief summary about his death and his career and how it happened before I watched the documentary, and I'm like, how are they going to stretch this into an hour plus? Like, I don't.
Mm-hmm.
But it made sense but it was cool though. You needed to know that. You needed to know his roots and the way he came up and how influential he became and how quickly he became that way. And the people that he was connected with and how powerful he was, all that was important, to even give credit to the conspiracy. So I understand that.
Yeah. Well, a month after his death, the single "A Change Is Gonna Come" was released and is considered a classic protest song from the era of the civil rights movement. It's a fantastic song and invokes emotion when you listen to it and you think about all the different meanings that it could have.
Yes.
The different ways that you could interpret that song.
Mm-hmm. A Change Is Gonna Come. That's my favorite, man.
Yeah, it's a great song.
No doubt.
And since then, he's his legacy has been solidified. In 1986, he was inducted as a charter member of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Then in 87, he was inducted into the Songwriters Hall of Fame. In 89, he was inducted a second time into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame when the Soul Stirrers were inducted. In February of 1994, he received a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame for his contributions to the music industry located on 7051 Hollywood Boulevard.
Nice.
In 2004, Rolling Stone ranked Cooke 16th on its list of the 100 greatest artists of all time. So the top 20 of the greatest artists of all time, according to Rolling Stone. And in 2008, he was named the 4th greatest singer of all time by Rolling Stone.
Man, I'd like to see that list.
And yeah, and he's also been inducted into his home state, Mississippi's Musicians Hall of Fame as well.
Right on.
So, heroes get remembered, but legends never die. So
that's right.
Yes, he was taken too soon, but he's, still a legend, and his songs will live on forever.
Absolutely,
and
dude.
There will always be people that question the manner of his death and whether it was a planned hit and a murder rather than a justifiable homicide like it was ruled.
Mm-hmm. So you think? What do you think, man? If you had to call it, what are you thinking at the end of this? You think it's?
I think it was a plan. I think it was definitely a planned robbery.
Mm-hmm. So you think they?
I don't know, man. It's just hard. It's really hard for me to imagine that they planned it so perfectly that. But the more I think about it, it's like it could have just not gone down the way that they claimed it went down. They could have, like I said, the manager could have let him in, shot him,
yes.
and then they could have easily staged it as though he broke in there and attacked her.
It's hard for me to get past all those post-mortem wounds.
They could have had a couple of men from the mob or whatever waiting in that manager office, and beat him and bludgeoned him and shot him in there.
Absolutely.
Made an example out of him, and then they one of them kicks down the door afterwards, and they say he kicked it in and attacked her.
Because look, okay, so it's a small office, right? He goes into the office, and then he doesn't see the girl that stole from him. Why does he fight with this woman?
That's a good question. That is a very good question.
I mean, he's naked he's wearing a jacket, and that's it. Like, you got time to waste fighting with this one? Why fight with her? Either she knows or she don't. Like, I don't know.
I didn't even think about that. You're so right. Like, why, once he gets in there and he sees that she's not in there, why is he continuing to fight with her and say, where is she? Like,
yeah,
that's definitely bizarre.
Right. She's gone, dude. You need to go out, get some clothes, and go find her or some shit. Like, yeah, I think that was all a trap. I think she banged on that door to get him to go to that door, and when he went in that room, there was something else waiting for him.
Yeah, it's definitely fishy, man.
Yeah,
it's hard to remove the thought that it could have been tied to the mob or the music industry.
What sucks?
There's so many people that would have liked to have him gone,
Yeah, and what sucks is like everybody who's connected to this or knows anything is most likely dead or in, like you said earlier, probably in their 80s, right? 70s, 80s. So it's.
I mean, this happened 62.
Yeah.
And we're talking 60 plus years ago, and the people that were involved were already in their 20s or 30s
right
then. So
that's what I'm saying. It's just the probability of this ever really being solved, really coming to light, is just 0 to none. It's not gonna. It's not gonna happen, unfortunately. But at least we got to cover it and remember this great artist in this way, though. I thought this was something cool, man. Absolutely. Something a little different that we could do this week.
Yep.
So.
Well, why don't you try something a little different in your armpits?
Yeah, you should. Like what? Like Oh My Gaia? Is that what you're talking about, Lauren?
Oh My Gaia.
Oh, okay.
Try an all-natural deodorant and beard oil company.
That's right. Specializing in paraben and aluminum-free products. Their innovative line of deodorants inhibit the growth of odor-causing bacteria while maintaining effectiveness. At Oh My Gaia, they use only all-natural, paraben, and aluminum-free organic ingredients. And guys, there's tons of scents to choose from. I just got me a new order of Egyptian musk. I got me some Sailor. I got me some Fireside. My wife got some Sweet Pea, as well as she also likes Sailor too. We both enjoy that scent. I also got me some scented oil as well. And because you guys are True Crime Guys listeners, you can go to ohmygaia.com and you can get 15% off your order by using the code word CREEPER. That's CREEPER for 15% off your order. And you can do that at shop_ohmygaia on Instagram or ohmygaia.com. Again, guys, that's ohmygaia.com for 15% off your order. Guys, you won't regret it. There's no aluminum, no paraben, none of that shit. Don't put that stuff in your armpits anymore. Put the all-natural stuff in there. And the scented oil also works great as a light cologne or perfume. That's the way I like to use it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's really nice because it's a nice scent. You smell good, but you're not overpowering a room. You know what I mean? Some people they go overboard with it. But with these scented oils, it's a nice scent that people who are close to you can enjoy. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
I really think it's very tasteful. Much like
and
tonic CBD.
Speaking of natural oils, we got the best natural oils out there for you with
We do.
Our other weekly sponsor, Tonic, which we just got a care package. Man, it just honestly, CBD is a lifesaver for me. It just keeps my mood so even keel. I don't have the ups and downs.
Right.
That's just my personal testament to it. And this is the highest quality CBD. It's true, not all CBD products are created equal. From how the hemp is grown and processed and how it's formulated and delivered into your body, every step of the process that goes into making the product affects your ultimate experience with it. That's why Tonic's products really stand out. Founder Brittany Carbone created her own original formulas using CBD, adaptogens, herbs, and superfoods back in 2017 and has been working to deliver the most effective, intentional, and sustainable products possible. Tonic Craft cultivates their own hemp from certified organic family farm in upstate New York. That hemp travels only 30 minutes to their state-of-the-art manufacturing and distribution facility where it is turned into a finished product and sent to you, ensuring only the highest quality vibes at every stage of the process. Tonic's farm-to-bottle CBD plus botanical blends are uniquely formulated to provide targeted support where you need it most. Each and every high-quality ingredient is thoughtfully selected for its ability to support and enhance the benefits of CBD, resulting in a more effective, well-rounded, and consistent wellness solution for the mind and body. They have a bunch of different blends depending on your needs, but Chill Tonic has been one of my favorites for anxiety. It has ashwagandha, lemon balm, and passion flower to deliver a super calming effect, but it's also really cool that they use black seed oil in a lot of their blends as well.
Yeah.
Black seed oil, if you don't know, is an antioxidant powerhouse, and it's great for your immune system, but it also really just scratches the surface of what superfood can do. So it's really cool to see it's combined with CBD like this. So yeah, they have all different blends. I'm looking right now on their website. We just got to send a package with Chill, OG, Flex, and Grounded. They all have different purposes, and you can kind of find what works for you, what time of day to take each blend. But there's more than just tinctures. There's many different products. They have skincare, topicals, multi-packs, vape pens, which I love the vape pen as well. Just like you feel a little bit anxious, you can just take a rip off that. They also have flour, CBD edibles, pet health. So even if your pet struggles with seizures and things like that, there's a lot of studies that show that CBD helps a lot with seizures in animals.
Right.
And with just pain, if they, maybe they're getting old and their joints hurt, CBD can help them with that chronic pain issue.
Absolutely.
So there's so many different uses for CBD. I can't recommend it enough. And the best part is if you go to tonicvibes.com, you can learn more and you can use the code word CREEPER for 20% off your order. That's tonicvibes.com, code word CREEPER at checkout for 20% off.
Damn. And as always, guys, everything is linked below the description of this page. Look right below the description. You'll see links to Oh My Gaia and Tonic CBD.
Yeah. If you can at all benefit from these, which I'm sure you can, we love when you support our small business supporters of our show here.
Absolutely.
In Oh My Gaia and Tonic. If you're going to support anything that we put out there, that's one of the best ways to do so, and you benefit as well. But also, a great way to support and get more content from our show is patreon.com/truecrimeguys. $2 a month gets you access to our once a month Patreon exclusive episode that we just did last week.
Right.
We recovered the West Memphis 3 case from the perspective of them being guilty. Since there's so many people out there that still believe they're guilty, we wanted to, really dive in and give it a go and see what their arguments were. I will say one thing: we weren't all that impressed with their arguments, but we nonetheless just
tried.
explored those ideas for an hour, hour and a half, I believe. We talked about it.
At least, yeah. It was interesting. It was very tough to stay guilty biased. It was very tough, but it was
tough for me specifically.
Yeah, yeah. I think I made it about halfway through the show. I think you made it like to the intro.
Michael was trying to play bad cop, and I just couldn't do it. I'm like, they're not fucking guilty.
You're just good copping the shit out of me. But yeah, guys, you can find that plus 50-something other Patreon exclusives on Patreon right now on the $2 tier. But if you really want a deal, you got to look at that $5 tier, especially in March. As of March 16th, the $5 tier on True Crime Guys will include all of our content, all of our shows under TCG Productions. We are combining both Patreons. So the patreon.com/Sandu podcast, if you're still on that Patreon, that's okay. It will remain up for a while. But we're hoping that eventually everybody will just move over to the True Crime Guys Patreon and everything will be under one umbrella. And on that $5 tier, you will get access to not only the True Crime Guys Patreon exclusive every month, but you'll have access to Just the Banter every Friday, Strange Shorts, which is a Sandu show we do every single Monday, Sandu Stories every single month, Higher Thoughts will be sprinkled in, and last but not least, also on March 16th, if you have not been a patron of Strange and Unexplained, there will be over 80 Patreon exclusive episodes available on that day. At 12 a.m. on March 16th, your Patreon might blow up because we're going to drop over 80 episodes all at once, and it's going to be insane. But that's on the $5 tier. But last but not least,
think about how lucky the current $5 patrons are right now.
Oh, I know, right?
All of a sudden, they're not going to have to change anything.
They're not changing anything.
Doing what they were doing, and they're going to all of a sudden get 10 times the content they were getting.
Right? It's insane. So our goal is to release content almost every other day, which we're pretty damn close to that now. With the addition of the 5-Minute Murder Show. Lauren, do you want to talk about that? Introducing?
Yeah, I've always wanted to add a video element to our content, at least one show, and I'm no video editing expert, so I figured I would do a 5-minute murder show where you see me, I tell the story, I add in some pictures and stuff from the case and things like that, and it's one murder case all wrapped up into a neat little 5-minute bow, and you get to see me do it. So we'll see. I got the first episode that I'm in the middle of creating, so hopefully that'll be up soon, and hopefully I can get into a rhythm with it where it doesn't kill me trying to get that out every week. But my intention is to do it, put out one of those every week, and hopefully I get into a rhythm with it to where it gets easier for me to do.
Right,
and doesn't mess with any of the other shows that we do. That's always my thing. Is like True Crime Guys is always number one. We always said that has to be our number one focus. That's our bread and butter. That's what's gotten us to where we are. That's why you guys know who we are and all that stuff.
Absolutely.
But we can always work hard and add more content as long as it doesn't mess with our bread and butter as well. So yeah, We're trying to give you guys as much content as we possibly can
for
a reasonable price. And in today's inflationary era, $5 a month ain't shit. And that's nothing. Especially when you consider that at that $5 tier, you'll get almost a new piece of content almost every day of the week. That's where we're getting to, is like you'll almost have a new episode of something every single day.
Exactly. And that's when you get caught up. I mean, most of our patrons now and new patrons will have to get caught up on all the content that's there. I mean, if you've never been a patron of True Crime Guys, I mean, there's already hundreds of Patreon exclusive episodes available right now.
I know it's hard to believe, but you might actually get sick of us. That's how much content there will be when you sign up. You might have to take a break from us for a minute.
Which is fine. That's fine. Yeah. We're just trying to make it a no-brainer. We're trying to make that no-brainer tier. That $5, it's just like, damn, it's $5, right? It's less than your Starbucks coffee now.
Yeah, and you can still pay that up front too, $54 for a year, and then you'll be done for 12 months.
Absolutely.
And you save 10% by doing that.
That's right. So guys, keep your eyes peeled. March 16th is when it happens. And like we said, if you're on any of our other Patreon tiers, if you're on Sandu Patreon, not a big deal. If you want to stay there, that's fine. We'll keep that up and running, and I will continue to upload there. Sandu content. I will continue to upload there for a little while, but I'm hoping eventually everyone will just move to the $5 tier on True Crime Guys. That would just be easier. And of course, we have the $10 tier available as well. And the only extra content there is, well, you get the extra satisfaction of really helping us, really supporting the show. But also you get on our monthly Zoom call. We have a Zoom call somewhere towards the end of the month, every month, and you can come on, talk to us, ask questions, and we just kind of hang out for a little while. So that's at the $10 level. But that $5 level,
which we truly enjoy as well. We've gotten to know several of our patrons that jump into that. We end up a lot of times with the same group of people, which is cool because like we feel like we're like friends with the group of the creeps that we discuss. We have conversations with once a month.
Right. It's like we're checking in with everybody.
Yeah. Just checking in on you.
Checking in on you. All
Little
right.
Billy Red Bulls.
Yeah. Gotta love some Bill Burr, man. We ain't thrown none of that in a while.
Yeah. That being said, if you're still a freeloader and you just enjoyed the 3 episodes a month you get on our feeds, whether you're listening on Apple Podcasts or Stitcher or Spotify, whatever it is, we love you all the same, and you don't ever have to pay anything if you don't want to. You'll still get those 3 free episodes a month.
Absolutely.
And if you want to stay on the $2 tier on Patreon, you'll get all of our True Crime Guys episodes. You won't get just the banter and the extra content, but maybe you're cool with that, and that's fine as well. You're not going to have to change anything if you don't want to. That's where we're making it seamless for anybody. If you want to stay $2 tier, if you want to stay on Sandu's Patreon, we're not going to force you to do anything. That's not what we're about. But we're just offering far more content at $5 just to make it easy for everybody. And I think that's enough babbling about all of that.
I agree.
Let's put an end to this. We hope you all have a great week. Thanks for listening. Keep creeping.
Keep creeping, guys.
True Crime Guys, in the desert we like a mirage. It's okay if you clicked on us cause you thought we was True Crime Garage. Now we ain't mad at you. Sit down, let us talk at you. I'm talking to the creeper army. We out here making murder. True Crime Guys, in the desert we like a mirage. It's okay if you clicked on us cause you thought we was True Crime Garage. Now we ain't mad at you. Sit down, let us talk at you. I'm talking to the creeper army. We out here making murder charming.
You hush your mouth, boy.